Hello everyone, I'm going to back up to my mat soon, but just wanted to get situated. Let's see. Make sure we can see that mat. All right, looks good. All right, we're going to start out press back in child's pose today. So if that doesn't feel great for your body usually, or if it doesn't feel good for something special today, no worries, you can take this kneeling or sitting on your seat, just in a normal, comfortable pose. But we're just going to, I'm going to offer child's pose just as a way to both ground, center, and open up. So with the knees nice and wide, toes together behind you, sit the knee or the seat back towards the feet. Bringing the head, the belly, the chest down towards the ground. Forehead might touch, might not. If you feel like you're hanging out here, it's uncomfortable, you can slide a pillow under the face, but extend the fingertips forward, lengthening the arms. And you want to feel an energetic and also physical pull from the fingertips. Really between the fingertips and the butt that's sitting back in this heavy, going down towards the feet and the floor. So you're going to feel those two poles, those two ends, lengthening the spine, putting some space between the vertebra. And then bring your attention to your breath. Maybe take a few heavy inhales through the nose and sighs out mouth. Feeling the upper back puff up and the whole torso relaxing, releasing down into the floor. You can let the elbows be kind of bent and heavy, or you can engage the arm muscles. Feel the elbows lift up away from the floor. I'm going to do that just so my voice can escape this little cavern a little bit better. With each breath out, I'm going to remember to encourage my seat to sit heavier towards my feet. Bring softness to the belly so it can really fall between the thighs. I may pick up my forehead, put it back down. If I start to feel like I can experience that length coming into my back, and maybe placing the forehead down a little bit further will stretch it out even more. And then once you've had a chance to really deposit your weight and establish your intention to drop into the next 55 minutes or so, bring your attention and bring your intention to your breath. And intentionally breathe a little bit louder in and out the nose than comes naturally. So we're going to trigger that oceanic breath, that fierce breath, Ujjayi. So when you breathe out and in, it's as if you're fogging up a mirror. Keep the mouth closed. You feel and you hear a little bit of friction of the breath running along a constricted throat. Try to even out the breath, meaning it's as long in as it is out. You're creating almost like a wind tunnel in your windpipe into your lungs. And you can feel the breath a little more powerfully coming in and out of the chest. Maybe you can feel the upper back, down to the low back, and the belly. How that amplified, more visceral breath makes, or I guess that restriction makes your breath feel more visceral, more powerful, more full. All right, I'm going to get started. A little bit of movement, lifting your forehead up away from the floor, keeping the palms super grounded, pressed into the floor. Start to kind of rock the head and shoulders side to side. Bring a little movement into the low back and the hips. And then we're going to look forward between the hands. This is the first time I'm opening my eyes, so maybe blink them open softly so you're not shocked by the light around you. All you're going to do is slide the chest and shoulders forward between the elbows, forearms and hands coming onto the belly, and we'll stop in Sphinx pose. Easy, relaxed Sphinx. Take a gaze down at your elbows, see that they are underneath your shoulders or slightly in front of them. Closer they are to under your shoulders, the more intense this back bend will be, the more you'll feel your weight dump into your low back. And like I said, this is going to be easy Sphinx just to warm up the back for bending. So we're not yet engaging our more supportive muscles, which can turn this into a more rigorous back bend. So it's okay to drop the shoulders, drop the weight of the chest into the shoulders, into the elbows, let your head hang a little bit, and then you're gonna rock the head side to side like a pendulum, waking up the back of the neck. You can also do this to your head more upright, so your gaze is more diagonal, a couple feet out in front of you, and just tilt the head to the right ears over right shoulder, and then dip the gaze, tracing the nose across the floor, and then left ear goes to left shoulder. Do that one more time. Rock the head like a pendulum down towards the floor, bringing right ear over right shoulder. Maybe tip the chin up to the left, and then rock the head down towards the floor and over. Left ear to the left. Tip the chin up to the right. Maybe gaze goes up to that right corner too. All right, rock the head through center, let it hang heavy. Feel back of the neck lengthening, a little more space there. And now tilt the head gently, look up, slight opening up the throat, and then gaze comes to neutral. All right, we're going to release the chest and the shoulders and the head down to the floor. Maybe give the hips a little rock, side to side. We're going to start with a little bit of shoulder opening, and then we'll deepen that back bend practice. So to start, I'm going to go through a couple variations of locust pose. So full locust, you might have your feet, even thighs, arms, shoulders, head off the mat, but we're going to start by isolating the front, or the top half and the lower half of your body. So we'll start by placing the fingertips in the back of your hand on the floor, so palms are facing up towards the ceiling or the sky. You're going to start to pull the shoulder blades together across the back so your shoulders lift off the floor. Press the tops of the feet into the ground behind you. Feel your knees come up off the floor. Then you're going to pull the fingertips back towards your feet, and your head will start to rise across from the floor. Keep pulling the shoulder blades together. Keep breathing. Your gaze again is not, this time we want to keep the neck straight so it's a continuous line from our spine. So we're not looking up at the ceiling, we're not looking down, drooping to the floor, we're looking out maybe a foot or two out ahead of us. Softly pulling the shoulder blades together, rolling the shoulder heads up and back and open. Keep pressing the tops of the feet on the ground. Keep dragging the fingertips back in space towards those feet. You can press down on the backs of the hands on the floor. Get a little more leverage Take one more breath, get a little higher. Exhale, release everything slowly down to the floor. Let the head rest on the left side, left cheek, rock the hips up. All right, next we're going to isolate lower half of the body. So bring that gaze back down to the floor. And this time we're going to keep our hands grounded, palms face down and in place. We're going to start to engage the leg muscles. So we can start by pressing the tops of the feet down on the mat, pulling those kneecaps up away from the floor and up towards the hips. And then using the strength of the hamstrings and the glutes and pulling, it's kind of like you're pulling the legs towards each other, towards the midline. Start to raise them away from the floor, trying to keep them straight. It's no big deal if you got a little bend, but you will really feel the strengthening as much as you will the back bend by doing this. Right now, this is really just strengthening. So you're pointing the toes. It's like you're trying to pull the legs out of the socket with your own muscular strength. Here, you can pull the low belly in, grip those glutes. You press the floor away at the tops of the hands if that's helpful for you. And you have your forehead down on the mat, so you just have an anchor point. Keep pulling the toes, the feet, the legs away from the hips. One more breath. And release everything down. Rock the hips side to side. You can rest this time on the right cheek. Slow down and deepen the breath. All right, and we're going to pass through center again. This time, we're going to bind the hands together in a fist, resting on the low back, and we're going to work to straighten those arms. So we'll start this time by pulling the upper half of the body away from the mat, keeping lower half grounded. So same thing, just different arm and shoulder position. All right, so we're going to roll the shoulder heads up and back, pinching the shoulder blades. Push the tops of the feet down into the ground, knees come off the floor, and pull the fist towards the feet. Gaze and head come up off the floor, looking ahead. You can also look down a little bit. This is slightly different just because the angle of your back bend is probably a little less dramatic. Breathe. This time I'll say tighten the low belly. This will protect your low back, so we are engaging our supportive muscles rather than dumping into our bone structure like when we're warming up in Sphinx. Few more breaths. Keep pulling the shoulder blades together. Keep pulling the fists back in space. Feel the collarbones broaden. One more breath. Maybe lift the fist away from the seat a little more. And release. The left cheek down to the mat. Let the shoulders be heavy and shrug, droop down. Rock the hips side to side. Slow and deepen the breath. Just passing through rest. All right, and then the last thing we'll do is a more full version of locust, okay? So gaze comes back through center, forehead facing down. Grip those hands, but change the bind. So you have the opposite thumb on top. And this time, we're going to engage the legs the same way as we did before. So we engage lifting the kneecaps up away from the floor, up towards the hips, gripping the glutes, and then we roll the shoulder heads up and back, pull the fists back, maybe up away from the seat, shoulder and head comes up, and then lift feet and legs up away from the floor. So we're making a little boat shape with the back side of our body. You can tuck the chin if you like, but sometimes it feels more comfortable to just keep the gaze neutral down towards the floor. Keep pulling the legs out of the socket. Pull the low belly in, pulling the fist back. Maybe feel your chest rise up away from the floor a little more. One more breath, everything gets a little higher. Exhale, release, unleash the bind. Rock the hips side to side. You can rest on your other cheek. All right, now we're going to do a little more, a little bit more dynamic movement. So we're going to do a little bit of scorpion stretch. So bring your arms out to goal posts on either side of you. So take a look at your elbows. They should be more or less in line, maybe slightly higher than your shoulders. Palms face down. And all we're going to do is roll onto our right hip. Keep that left palm on the ground, and you're going to bring the left foot towards the floor, but also towards, it's like you're trying to get your right shoulder, the grounded shoulder with that foot. It's not going to happen, but that's your aim. So you're just rolling onto the right hip, starting to feel the back twist, and you get that twist by keeping the arms on the floor. To press the floor away, working to straighten that left arm, and then we also feel shoulder opening on the right shoulder. All right, come back through center, both hips are grounded, extend both legs long, maybe rock it out. And then we'll go to the other side, so gaze goes over to the right. This time we're going to roll onto the left hip. So you can either start, come here, hold on, get on there. So I'm gonna bring the, you can keep the goalpost arm on your right side, or you can put your palm where your elbow was. So it's out to the right of your right shoulder. So you have it's like another form of a kickstand, and then push the floor away. Bend that right knee, trying to kick up past your butt towards that grounded left shoulder. So that's your scorpion tail. And again, you can keep the arm straight on the right side, keep pressing the floor away. Feeling the twist by grounding both hands, but allowing the weight of the right foot to open you up. All right, we'll come back through center, do that again. So shift both hips to face down to the ground, and that'll rock over onto the right hip. Let the left foot be heavy, but reach towards that grounded right shoulder. Maybe you find the floor. If you find it, press the floor away with the toe. See how it feels to think about the breath while we hold this for a second. And then release, bringing both hips to face down. Pass through one more time. On the other side, rolling onto left hip. Right foot is heavy behind you. Reaching up past the butt towards the grounded left shoulder. Press the palms into the floor, both of them. This time, attention coming back to the breath. All right, roll back down to the center. Take a rest. Just let the shoulders be heavy. Rock out the hips. Then we're going to come back up into our Sphinx. This time will be a little more active, right? So again, a reminder, shoulders are underneath or slightly in front of your elbows are slightly in front of your shoulders. Forearms are parallel, middle fingers are going straight ahead in front of you. Palms are nice and broad, pressing into the mat. Your feet can be plenty separated behind you. Sorry I didn't remind you that, you can't really see it. But yeah, unlike your more traditional cobra or even locust pose, we don't really need to fixate on having the thighs touching at all here. So nice and heavy and deposited into the ground below us. This time though, we're going to turn that low belly on, so feel heavy in the tailbone, feel super heavy in the pubic bone, and just engage the low abdomen. You'll feel the glutes turn on too. So when I say turn on, it means that they're tightening, so they're gonna work a little. Press the tops of the feet into the floor, pointing the toes back, feel the knees lift away from the floor. Got lower leg, upper leg engagement. And then we're gonna press the floor away with the elbows, forearms, palms, and all the fingers. So we're gonna feel ourselves rise up out of the shoulders before we're kind of hunching into them. Push the floor away using the lat muscles. So these are those bunches of upper back muscles over here. on either side, underneath the shoulder and the armpit. Taking long, slow breaths. See if you can count to 5. In, hold for 1, and then exhale for 5. 3 times. And even as you're puffing up that low back, keep pressing the floor away. Pulling the belly button in towards the spine. Keep pushing the floor away. And I mean that with the tops of your feet, your hips, with your upper, what is that, your forearms. Now, tuck the chin into the chest, let the head be heavy. Experience that back of neck stretch. Then we'll take a break, bring the elbows wide, stack the hands on top of one another, and let the forehead or either cheek rest on that pillow, hand pillow. Let the hips rock side to side. Take a moment to bend both knees, just let the feet be in the air, and use them like windshield wipers. So dip them over to the right, bring them up through center, dip them over to the left, bring them up through center. So we got one leg that's rotating outward and one that's rotating inward. So you feel 2 different sensations, one type on one leg, one type on the other. Okay. Come back to stillness, extend the legs out back behind you. Come back up into that active Sphinx pose. All right, we're gonna tuck the toes underneath the heels. And we're gonna engage that low belly, feeling heavy in the pubic bone. Glutes turn on. We're gonna press the floor away with our forearms, hands and elbows. And we're going to lift the hips, coming into forearm plank. All right, we're gonna wanna shrug our shoulders, so let's not do that. Pull the shoulder blades down the back. You can still spread them wide. Just keep them away from the ears. Maybe rock the head out a little bit. Shake it off. Shake off that tension, even though to engage the muscles, you gotta have some tension. Just focus on instead. Pulling up your low belly towards the spine. Engaging the glutes to keep the hips low. Instead of this, you want this. You're really trying to push out through the heels, but pull forward the crown of the head. Keep pushing the floor away from you, floating over it. Breathe in and out. Do 3, 2, 1, and lower the hips. Oh my goodness. Take a beat in your Sphinx pose. If you like, you can straighten one arm and then the other, rocking on the hips as you do that. If you're feeling up to the challenge, you can straighten both at once. But if you do that, keep those legs nice and active, knee caps off the floor. Pubic bone heavy, glutes engage, low belly in. Protect the low back. And pull the shoulders down away from the ears. Keep that space. Few breaths in, feel that stretch in the belly, working out those abs before. This can draw everything out again. All right, lower back down onto the forearms if you weren't already. So one more rock. Because next, we're going to work in the legs a little bit. Same arm position, so you're going to kick right knee towards your butt. You might turn your palm of your left hand underneath your face, so just bringing a diagonal to your left forearm. And you can kind of like use your right arm as a little kickstand as you start to open up towards the right, looking back towards the right foot. Experiment with coming onto the fingertips, maybe balancing, no hands to press the floor away with that grounded left foot, left arm. And then open the shoulder, open the arm, thumb is facing up, and catch the inner line of your right foot. So right now I have super straight stretching open on my right side, my right arm. I'm kicking my foot into my hand, then I'm pulling with my hand on my foot. Right now my knee is grounded, yours might not be. Just depends on length, proportions. how much, movement and lubrication you have in you right now. And then if you caught that foot, you're going to start to pull it towards the right side of your right hip. So that'll be the work. And then if you can get it close enough to the outer side of that right hip, you can start to look forward. So you're kind of you're orienting your shoulders more down and forward instead of having the right one open up. And then maybe you could start to turn your right fingers towards your right toes, towards the front of the room. So you are going to see your elbow go up in the air. So you turn this right shoulder down towards the floor and forward. Okay, so this is a lot of rotation, a lot of movement. It's simple the more you do it, but it's pretty hard to explain what we're doing. So no worries if that was confusing. To back out and start over again, right? We started with a caught foot, fingertips or the thumb was up towards the ceiling. Pull the foot towards the seat and that'll make your elbow bend a little bit. You grab the toes with your fingertips, right? So the fingertips come over the front of the toes and then you pull, and really you push the foot down. Elbow goes in the air, shoulder goes down. Press the floor away with that grounded left forearm. Breathing. You stay here. I have a ton of comments in the chat, so that's really unusual. So I wonder if I'm muted or something there. Is there any way you do a stretch for the soles to show where to stretch for pain on the soles? If so, could you do it close to the camera? That is not demanding at all. I would love to show you that. I hope you're still here, even though your message might have shown up a few minutes ago. But yes, we can certainly do that after we balance out on the other side. Okay, so if you're still holding that, good for you. You can release it. So don't let the foot be a slingshot. Just try to release a little bit. Come back down. So you're on both forearms again. You can bring a bend to the knees. Hey, buddy. And gazes forward. Let's take a break. Bend the elbows out towards the edges of your mat. Fold the hands, placing them one on top of the other. Rock the hips and bring the forehead or cheek down to the hand pillow. And then we'll go to the other side. Come up into your Sphinx. All right, so this time we are going to kick left foot towards the left side seat. You're going to bring right palm under the face. And you're going to start to bring your weight out of the left hand. Maybe you practice floating it away from the floor, which means you gotta get used to having your weight in your right elbow, forearm, shoulder side. You're going to swing the arm up, thumb facing up, palm facing out, and reach towards the inner line of the left foot in the air. Hopefully you can catch it. And when you've caught it, kick the foot away. You're going to feel the chest rise up as you do that, stretching the upper part of the shoulder. And at the same time, pull with the arm. So kicking and you're pulling, you're kicking and you're pulling. Okay. Bring your attention to your hips. See if you can feel equally heavy in both of them, even though you're turning the chest out towards left. Keep pressing the floor away with the left or the right arm and the hand, all the parts of the arm that are on the ground. Okay. So this is the other side where we're going to do the fancy hand work on the foot. All right, so start to pull the foot towards the seat, towards the outer side of your left hip. You're going to see that elbow bend because the space between your foot and your seat is being reduced. Okay, and then you're going to kind of walk the fingertips to face forward, and maybe you kind of wrap them around the front of the toes, around the toes all together. All right. And then maybe you can bring the elbow up in space. So now you're pushing down on the foot. And your left shoulder is facing down. Okay. So we'll keep pulling down on the foot. Stay heavy in both hips. And you can reactivate that right leg. Press down the top side of your left foot. Keep pressing the floor away with that grounded right arm. A few more breaths here. And then release, don't slingshot. Woo. Tops of both feet on the ground. Take a moment to equal out in your Sphinx and center, and then drop the head, neck, shoulders down onto your hand pillow. Elbows go wide, rock out the hips. Again, if you don't like the hip rock like this, you want to feel a little bit more, bend the knees, bring the feet in the air, and bring them side to side like windshield wipers. Might be a little more movement in the back of this. And I can get as fast or as slow as you like. It's all for you. All right, extend the legs long. And I'm going to give you a little break. I'm going to come up on the forearms just as a way to pass through this kind of tabletop. Bring the knees wide, toes together, and sit the hips back, finding child's pose again. So feel nice length, especially in the low back. Crawl the fingertips forward while sinking the hips low and heavy. Engage the arms so they lift off the floor. Feel that length in the shoulders and armpits. All right, we're going to pick up away from the floor a little bit. Keep the right arm extended forward, and we're going to slide your left arm behind your right wrist, but in line with your shoulders. So you're like making a 4 underneath your shoulders and your torso. And you're going to start to bring the chest back down to the floor. You just have this contortion under you, so you'll feel a stretch on your left shoulder. Take a couple minutes here, let the forehead come down towards the floor. Feel a little stretch in the upper back too. And then press the right arm into, or the right palm, and the left back of your palm into the floor. Start to look under your right armpit out to the side. You're doing gradual twists, like a child's pose, thread the needle. And then if you want some more, you can place your right palm on top of your left palm and press that top hand into the left. And you'll start to look up over your right shoulder. Just a little bit more. Twist. And you'll feel all these different twists and openings in different parts of your back. See what it feels like to press that grounded left shoulder into the floor. And slow down, but enlarge your breaths. So my voice kind of got weird. Staying as heavy as you can in the hips. After 5 or so breaths, walk that right arm forward again. Take a beat resting with both shoulders down towards the floor. So your whole chest oriented towards the floor. So this is a shoulder stretch. And then uncross the left arm, extend it in front of you. 3 breaths in child's pose. Really pull the breath in, starting at the upper back, puff that up, and then don't forget to pull it down towards the low belly. So you can get a little bit of release, a little expansion in the low back and hips. All right, after 3-ish breaths, we'll do it on the other side. So you're keeping your left palm grounded, left arm straight out in front of you, and you're just going to bring the back of your right palm onto the floor. Slide the right arm over to the left foot, passing underneath that extended left arm. Okay, so we'll start with the chest and both shoulders facing down towards the floor, dropping the forehead down, stretching the upper arm, right shoulder top. Press the floor away with that left palm. Press the floor away with the back of the right palm. Hips are both heavy. You can stay here if you want to stay in the shoulder stretch, or you can start to look under your left armpit, starting to twist open to the left. Press the floor away with the back side of your right palm. And then, if you like, you can place your left palm right on top of the right palm. And you can either have both arms straight, or you can bring a slight bend to your top arm, your left arm, and press the palms together. Start to look over the left shoulder. Open up, twisting to the left. If you don't feel like you're getting enough rotation like this, you can walk that left palm in closer to your shoulder, so you kind of have like a kickstand, right angles. Your elbow and your left wrist, press the floor away. That'll get you a little more rotation. Low back to upper back, staying heavy in the hips. Again, just a reminder, see if you can expand, make larger that breath, but also make it slower. See how that affects both the sensation of breathing, but also the twist. 5 of those total. And then when you're ready, tiptoe those left fingers out, forward. Bring the gaze to face towards the floor again. Chest facing the floor, so you stop in the shoulder stretch, right arm. And then extend both arms forward in front of you, rest in regular old child's pose. 3 breaths here. Press the floor away, so press the hips back towards the seat. And the feet, I mean. All right, walk your hands and your torso upright, rather than knees underneath you. Do this slowly. You can keep the eyes closed, tuck the chin, bow the head, stretching out the back of the neck. Couple breaths here. Let the hands be soft on the thighs. The elbows be heavy, drawing the shoulders down away from the ears. Pull the low belly in and try to pull the bend out of your low back. Draw your thighs together. You might start to feel the seat. It's not dumping down into your feet as much. Or if it wasn't sitting on the feet, which is very normal, you might feel just a little loftier, so we're engaging the legs. All right, relax. So we're going to come forward onto our hands and knees in a tabletop. We're going to tuck the toes underneath the heels behind us. All right, this will turn on your soles if they want to be stretched. Soles of your feet, the underside of the feet. All right, so you can stay here in your tabletop and work with the plantar fascia, the plantar stretch on the sole of the foot. You can take a gaze at your toes. See if you can tuck them in even more. So at first glance, sometimes we can only like tuck under our big toes or second or third. See if you can get all of them tucked underneath. So you're also going to get a little bit of, I don't even know if it's really a stretch. You're flexing your shins when you do this. So you'll feel some congestion, some engagement in your shins after a while. And then if you're not feeling any stretch on the soles of your feet, you start to send the hips back towards the feet, towards the heels, okay? So I still have my hands out in front of me, still have my shoulders pretty heavy, my head down. All you're doing is gradually distributing more weight towards your feet, okay? So different feet need different loads to achieve similar sensations of stretch and activation. So if this is going too slow for you, that probably means that you either have the structure of a foot where your sole, the sole of your foot, your plantar fascia is pretty forgiving. It's not super tight, it's not cranky. You also have a lot of flexibility in your in the ball of your foot, so the first joint of all your toes. So this is a very severe stretch to put weight into the ball of your foot for many, many, many people. Also, this we're putting isolated weight in joints, right? So if you're feeling unhappy in your knees right now, back out. If it's really bad, you don't need to come back out, but if it was just uncomfortable, slip a pillow or a blanket underneath the knees. That'll provide some relief. You can try it out, and if it still doesn't feel good, then just wait and we'll catch you on the next move, okay? So again, if you got that loose foot and you're still mad at me because we're not going fast enough, start to walk the hands up onto the thighs. See that my chest and shoulders are now upright. You might still be leaning forward because it's super intense. That's awesome. Just obey the sensation in your body. But you might also bring everything upright so you have everything loaded vertically in line on top of your toes, heels, hips, shoulders, okay? So everything that weighs a lot is in one line. So it's very efficient, but it means that it's all being applied onto your feet. And if you are where you want to be, your edge or your peak, close down the eyes. All right. You're experiencing discomfort, stretch. See if you can encourage some part of you to release a little bit, to release grip. So like your hands, your fingers, see if you can just pat them a few times on the thighs to remind you that they are separate from what you're feeling in your feet. You don't need to grip them. They're not helping you. Loosen it up. Maybe like wiggle the fingers a bit. Maybe your shoulders are always sucked up to your ears. Okay, that's not gonna be helpful either. Shake out the neck. Drop the shoulders and the elbows down. Maybe you feel like you're dumping into your low back, right? So you have this bow in your low back. That's pretty normal to let that happen. See if you can instead draw the shoulders over the hips. Let the tailbone be heavy. It's like you're scooping. It's like you're doing Michael Jackson thrust forward, right? Okay. So if you push the hips forward, push with the glutes, you're gonna reduce that bend in your low back a little bit. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm stretching the backs of my feet, but I feel this a ton in my shins. They're not happy with the life I am letting them live off the mat. So take 3 more slow breaths, as smooth and as dignified and chill as you can. And then after 3, all you're gonna do is bring your weight forward, hands and knees. Very, very gingerly untuck the toes. And then point them back so you put the tops of your feet down on the mat. Tap the feet out. Make some noise. All right, that really got me. So I'm really banging out the storm with my feet. Okay, sit the hips back towards the feet. Untuck now. Take a breath. For most people, it's probably a lot. That was a lot for me. So thank you for the challenge, viewer. I hope you're still there to enjoy that. All right, so come down to sit on your seat. I'm gonna face you. We're gonna do a little bit of hip opening. So bring the soles of your feet together. Knees go wide. Just kind of rock side to side. Saying hello to stretching the outer hips. Also the groin. All right, come to stillness. If you have a bend in your elbow, let the elbows rest on the thighs somewhere, all right? And reach down towards your feet. You might catch your shins, you might catch your ankles, you might actually catch your feet. If you have your feet, start to open them out towards the side so you keep the outer edges of your feet together. You're pulling the inner edges apart like you're opening a book. And you're feeling your knees go closer to the floor. If you are not at that opening the book stage, that is quite all right. Just work with grabbing somewhere in your legs, pulling up. So pulling proud in the chest, tuck the chin in. And you're working with the strength of your outer hips to pull the knees open. Even if your knees are all the way up here, right? Pull the outer hips open. So you'll get, even if it's like a millimeter of movement down. All right, but we want to keep a nice long spine as we do this. All we're doing is kind of sitting in uncomfortable positions today. If you do have your feet in storybook phase, right, you might start to drop the chest forward towards the floor, still keeping it nice and long. So you've got a nice long diagonal line from the tailbone out through the crown of the head. Pull those shoulders down away from the ears. Take deep breaths. See if you can release some gripping in your hips and your groin and your hands even. Your jaw, give it a little wiggle. All right, come back up to upright. Gather the knees together. We're gonna send both legs long in front of us. With a bend, bounce out the legs. Give the ankles a couple circles in either direction and then reverse. Flex and point the toes, alternating. All right, we are going to stamp our left foot close to our hip. And then we're going to step it over the right thigh. So it's coming towards the outside of our right hip. Pull the right toes back towards the face. Maybe your heel like kicks up away from the floor, maybe it doesn't. And we're going to stamp our left palm or left fingertips behind us. Start to open up to the left. Okay, just opening up to the left side. You don't have to look back yet. If you're already on your way, that's totally fine too. Grab your left knee and pull it towards the chest. So we want to spend a little time with this stretch, stretching the glute now, the left glute. So kind of hook the right arm around the knee, pull it towards you. Ooh. We're trying to keep both hips on the ground, okay? Keep flexing the right toes back. And then maybe you can decide to focus on your twisting a little bit. So gaze and shoulders might turn towards the left. If you want to move beyond the hook on the outside of the left knee, if you want to move from the hook being on the inside to the outside, you're going to bring the right elbow bent towards the outside of your left hip, okay? You have your hand nice and loose, wherever you like. You're going to try and press the right elbow into the left thigh. Press the left thigh into the right elbow. So I'm seeing a trend here, right? Keeping shoulders down away from the ears. Pull the shoulder blades together across the back. Keep flexing right toe back towards the face. Maybe your gaze is still going straight out to the left, or maybe you decide you want to look towards and past your left shoulder. Press the floor away wherever it's making contact on your hand or fingers. That'll remind you to sit up out of your pelvis, straightening the spine, pull the low belly in. Don't forget to breathe. Let it be robust instead of, like a pant. Even if that's what comes naturally, I'll encourage you, see if you can transform that shallow pant into a deeper, more controlled breath just because you're paying attention to it. Take one more breath. And then we'll come through center, kick out that left foot straight ahead, bounce out the knees, and we'll do the other side. Stamp right foot down, so your heel is right in front of your right hip. Step it across the left thigh. And we're gonna pull our right knee towards our chest. Start with both hands like this. Could have said that on the other side. Or you can start to hug it in, wrapping the left elbow around right knee. Sometimes it feels good, kind of like rock with it, like it's your baby. Or, I don't know, any type of precious thing that you love, your favorite bowl. You're just rocking your favorite bowl. All right, you can stay here, stretching this outer line of your right leg, or you can start to turn open towards the right. You can keep that left hook on the front side of the right knee, or you can bring these fingertips behind you, press the floor away, raising your spine up out of the pelvis, and you can replace left elbow on the outer edge, outer right thigh. Press the right fingertips or palm into the floor behind you. Gaze and shoulders are turning to the right side. Pull the low belly in, flex the left toes back towards the face. Engage the muscles of that extended leg, left leg. Pull the shoulder blades together, pull those shoulders down away from the ears. And then maybe you take your gaze over your right shoulder behind you. Keep pressing the floor away with the hand, straightening the arm, pulling up out of those grounded hips. Hang long all the way out through the crown of the head and the spine. Maybe tuck the chin. Ooh. Take one more breath. And we'll release through center. Release the arms, kick out right leg, bounce it out. All right, we're going to bring a little bend in the knees. I'll turn sideways so you can see. I love to bend my knees in a forward fold. I'm gonna pull the flesh of my butt back in space so I feel the bones, my sits bones, one on each side. Making a dent in the floor of the mat, all right? Knees are bent, heels are in the floor, flows. Toes are flexed back towards the face. And inhale, arms all the way up, pull up through the outer ribs. And exhale, drape the torso over the thighs. So I got no space here. And I'm just resting on it like I'm laying on a floor or a pillow. I'm gonna grab onto my feet. This might be your ankles or your shins. But if you can catch the feet, give them a little pat. Maybe a little massage. Then you're going to gradually, you can do two things. You can gradually walk the legs straighter and keep the connection between your chest and your thighs. Ooh, that feels good. Or you can decide to straighten everything out, lose the space, just hunch over. All right, so you're going to experience different types of relief. If you have straighter legs, you're going to get a hamstring stretch. If you have the contact between your thighs and your chest, you're going to get a back stretch instead. So experiment with both. You can start out with a back stretch, right? Keep the contact and then gradually push those feet forward, pull the hips back. Kind of a hybrid of the two. Bring attention back to your breath. Close down the eyes. Let the head drop towards the floor. Enlarging, lengthening the breath. Time to shut down a little bit. Let's take 5 more breaths. you're still sticking to this thigh and chest engagement, let go. And let go of the flex of the feet, let the toes be heavy. Melting down. A big breath that puffs up the upper back. Hold it on full. And release, sigh it out the mouth. All right. Walk your hands back towards the hips, bringing the chest more upright. Scoot the hips forward, knees are bent. And we're gonna roll down onto the mat. Let the arms go up overhead, elbows out to the side. Walk the feet towards the edges of your mat. Let the knees knock in, resting on one another. We're going to drop, we're gonna bring our knees directly over our hips, floating in the air. Thighs can be together or apart, no big deal. Just gonna drop both knees over to the left, so we're rocking onto our left hip. Taking one last little twist. Stay heavy in the right shoulder. Maybe you look over the right shoulder. Take 3 breaths. And after 3, bring the gaze up towards the ceiling. Draw the knees up towards the ceiling, hovering over the hips, and then keeping the legs together. Let them fall over to the right. Coming up onto the right hip, rolling onto the right hip. This time, gaze goes over to the left, and left shoulder draws down to the floor. Now the eyes open or closed. Sometimes it's nice to keep them closed as a commitment to letting go of the movement, the breath, the ideas we had before us, and shutting down, leaving it behind, resetting. After those 3 concluding breaths, gaze goes up to the ceiling, knees go up to the ceiling, and extend the legs long. Feet are wide, heels are grounded, but toes can flap open. Keep the arms up overhead if you like that, or if you prefer, you can have them rest diagonals out to the side. Arms are more straight. Roll the head side to side, slacken the neck. Tuck the shoulder blades by pulling them together on the back. So you're like pressing the floor away with the backs of your hands. So you get a little bit of hover and then squeeze the shoulder blades together and then deposit your upper back's weight back down on the shoulder blades. Let's take a breath in together through the nose, pulling it down into the belly. And exhale out the mouth. Do that 2 more times. Each breath allowing you to deposit and resign down into the ground. Inhale through the nose. Holding full in the belly and exhale out the mouth. Release the bones down. 1 more time. Inhale. Exhale. Relax. Soften the eyes. Soften the jaw, cheeks, forehead. Let the eyeballs relax. Let them be heavy, floating in pools that are the eye socket. Let your bones weight pull everything down in your frame. The belly be soft. Let the big muscles of the thighs, the glutes, let all be heavy and loose. Bring your attention to the center of the chest. Just watch it rise and fall with the breath. Keep watching the chest rise and fall with the breath. Keep watching the chest rise and fall with the breath. That is your task. Maybe eventually you won't realize that you are performing your task any longer. I'm going to leave you there to enjoy that task as long as you like. Thank you for joining, and I'll see you next time.